Hey everybody. We're gonna do a dry rub pork loin and some risotto tonight. We're keeping it kind of easy tonight. We're not gonna make our own stock. Got some stock from the store. You can get it pretty much any grocery store you go to. Sweet onion, apple. The dry rub I'm going to be using tonight is actually a dry rub from a guy named Sam Huff from Marietta, Georgia. Really nice guy. Some of the best barbecue I've ever had in my life. Really, really good with pork. Really good with beef. I mean, really, you can use a beef, chicken, whatever, what have you. It's really good. Now we're gonna throw some apple in our risotto, just for a little sweetness. And the key is, like, once you cut into apples, they go brown pretty quick. So the key is just hold them in some water, and they'll stay nice and golden for you. And see, I just kind of cut the good bits off the apple. I'm just going to do a kind of a thin julienne on these. We're not going to cook them down that much. We're just going to, really, we just want them for flavor. We still want them to hold some of that texture. Remember, keep your fingers tucked while you're slicing. Fingers always tucked while slicing. I'll just start getting these in water so they don't discolor on us. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody's weekend been? I know this has been an absolutely crazy busy weekend for myself. Alright, almost done with our apple. Alright, so we got our apple all cut up. Go ahead and give our cutting board a quick wipe down real quick. Quick hone. Give that a little wipe. And then really, we're only going to need about half of this onion. So I'm just going to cut the tip off this. Cut that in half. Cut it in half again. Peel that outer layers off. And just very carefully slice these up. Like I was saying, after a certain point, you can just kind of lay your onion over. Continue slicing. Alright, that is plenty of onion. Let's go ahead and clean this off real quick. Set this aside. We're just gonna kind of scrape these off to the side for right now. Gonna hit pan with a little grapeseed oil. Get that on medium-high heat. Like I said, I always use grapeseed oil. Has a higher flash point. Doesn't smoke near as much, which is good for me because there is no hood vent in my house. And I hate hearing the alarm go off. Alright. Then we got a pork loin. Gonna glove up real quick. We're just gonna cut into this, pull this out. Got a nice cut of pork loin right here. I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna clean up some of the silver skin. It's just basically tendon, kind of rough, kind of chewy. You just want to get rid of some of that. Try to take as little extra meat off as possible. And just kind of shave down the side of this. Clear this off. Now we got a nice lean piece of pork. We're going to go pretty excessive with the rub. That's kind of the whole point of doing a dry rub, is really get a lot of flavor in there. Key ingredients in a good dry rub: some chili powder, brown sugar, a little bit of cumin, some other dry herbs, salt, pepper, and that's really going to give you a good dry rub. And we're just going to, like I said, we're rubbing this thing, getting it completely covered. We're going to give it a quick sear in the pan, and then we're going to just pop that whole pan in the oven. Alright, as you can see, we got this completely coated, real nice, real kind of thick coating on it. We're going to let this pan heat up a little more. So that oil's moving nicely around. Nice and fast, not too slow. You can see the pan's getting hot. That's a good, you know, you can sprinkle some seasoning, sprinkle, you know, a pinch of whatever you're going to be cooking in there. See if it bubbles up. If it bubbles up, you're ready to go in the pan. We're just going to let that go. Like I said, it's best if you clean as you go, especially when you're dealing with stuff like raw meats. Like cross-contamination is a big issue. You don't want to get yourself sick or anything like that. Pork isn't, I mean, to me, pork isn't as bad as poultry as far as having to be careful. I mean, you obviously still have to be careful because it's a raw meat. You still get sick, but pork is actually one of those meats where you can cook pork medium. You can cook it, you know, you have a temperature variance in there that's acceptable. Unlike, you know, poultry where, you know, it has to be 165 degrees. Otherwise you can really get sick. And what we're going to do, we're going to start getting our risotto ready. And so I'm just going to, I don't want to bring our stock to a boil, but I do want it to be hot. So we're just going to get some chicken stock hot. And you can use chicken stock, you can use veggie stock, you can use your own fresh made stock. I just decided to stop by the store and grab some. And the nice thing about doing a whole big loin like this is, you know, you can sear it, put it in the oven, and almost kind of forget about it for a minute. We're just going to kind of stand that up on the edge so it gets a nice sear all around. We get the pan heated up, again, medium-high heat. Now the thing with risotto is, risotto seems like one of those dishes that a lot of people are scared of, but you really shouldn't be. It's really easy. It's rice. It's traditionally you use arborio rice. Arborio is an Italian rice. It's what's traditionally used for making risotto. But risotto's actually pretty simple to make. It's excuse me. The thing is, you when you're doing dry rubs and you're searing it, kind of stay away from it a little bit because it can get a little strong. But risotto is pretty much just like any other rice. you just you cook it differently. So we're not just gonna put it in a pan with stock or water and let it cook down. You actually sear the rice first. You cook it up in a saute pan first, and then you start adding water, and you stir constantly. And so what happens when you stir is you start releasing the starch, and it kind of thickens up, and it just kind of makes a nice, almost creamy, starchy kind of coating over the top of it. But you don't actually have cream or anything. We will finish with butter, but you don't actually add any cream or anything like that. So it's just it's just a different way of cooking rice. Now I'm actually going to pop a window open because it is getting smoky in here. Alright, so as you can see, we got a nice sear kind of all around on our pork, nice even. So we're just going to set that back in the pan, flip it over to where we started, and we're just going to set that right in the oven. That's kind of the beauty of cast iron. You can just, excuse me, you can just throw it in the oven. You just got to make sure you grab it with a dry rag or a pot holder. We're cheating tonight. We're kind of doing a more traditional, what we consider, you could kind of consider an English pea risotto. This is just sweet peas. They are frozen. We're like I said, we're kind of cheating tonight. There's nothing wrong with cheating every now and again. Just make it easy on yourself, because blanching English peas and popping them is uber time consuming and a pain in the ass. I'm actually going to have some coffee tonight. So how's everybody doing tonight? How's your weekend? Any trials, tribulations? Anything you need to talk about, hash out? Working and lurking. Right on, right on. I actually had band practice for the first time in 5 years today, and it was fun. Actually got to play some music today. I forgot how heavy my guitar amp was. Alright, so our stock's getting hot. We're just going to turn that on low. We just want it to be warm. You know, we don't want it to be super cold. New couch. That's always something. There's always a reason to celebrate a new couch. Especially if it's comfortable. Going out an hour, so you might not catch the whole stream. So, this is actually going to be a relatively quick stream tonight. Pork loin is already in the oven. And risotto, although it sounds kind of, you know, daunting, it's really not too bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by sauteing some onions down. And we just want to cook these down till they're translucent. And traditionally, you always use a wooden spoon or a wooden spat to cook risotto. Otherwise, technically, it's not risotto. Don't ask me why. That's just how it is. let those simmer down for another minute. Also, Lindsay, I can probably make risotto happen for you. Alright, so now our onions are cooked down enough, and we're actually going to add our rice straight into here. And we're gonna work it. I know this is the first time I ever made risotto. I was just like, what do you mean we're pan-searing the rice? That's insane. It's just how it's done. And it's very similar when you start adding stock, is when the grains kind of start going translucent. So you just keep the heat moving around. Going out to dinner in an hour. Didn't that happen last time? Like when I made fried chicken and I brought over chicken for you guys? I filled you guys up before you went to JL's parents' house. All right, now the tricky thing with risotto is, you know, you got to kind of keep working it. The whole point of this is to release the starch. Now here, I'm gonna grab I guess Sunday is like a mom dinner day. It kind of is, you know, it's kind of right up there when people go to church and have family dinner after church. So as you can see, there's some whiter grain rice, and then there's more translucent. And we're looking for the translucent. Like, that's really what we keep. That's what we're looking for here. I'm just going to hit this with a skosh more oil. I actually need to grab. Hey, Rename Card, how you doing? How is life? How are things? Are you having a good weekend? Are you bummed out that the weekend is ending? Because I'm kind of bummed out. Also, JL got a new couch. Just so everyone knows. New couch happened. All right. We are translucent enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding our stock. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill this up just so that it's barely over the rice. You see how it's barely over the rice? We're going to fill that up that way, and then we're just going to stir. And you just kind of keep stirring. Yay! Yay, multiple people on a couch! We're going to turn our heat down a little bit. So now the thing is with risotto, like I said, it's pretty easy. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. So the pain in the ass part of it is you you have to add stock multiple times. You're going to have multiple reductions while making this. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but you can kind of see it's starting to thicken up. You're getting this, you know, kind of translucent, almost saucy looking stuff in here. And what that is that's the starch releasing, and that's exactly what we want. So we're just kind of let that set for a second. Friend Snuggles, bring back the old couch. Says Cakes Riley. Alright, we're going to go ahead and start our second reduction. And like I said, we're just adding enough each time to barely cover the rice. If you have a little sticking out, that's alright. But this is really what we're looking for. Let that sit and reduce. Snuggle couch train costs extra. That costs extra. All right. This is coming along very nicely. You see, it just, the more you stir it, the more you get kind of that creamy goodness going on. And it's not even creamy. There's just no other way to explain it. It's just starchy goodness. What do we got? No, the Ferris friendship. Okay. So JL, does that mean if I'm taking what you're paying me and double it, does that mean I get 2 commissions a month? Alright, we are going to start our third reduction. Sometimes, you know, usually it's like 2-3 reductions. Sometimes it takes more. The Ferris friendship, so I'm extra friendly. You are extremely friendly, sir. Alright, like I said, kind of the key to risotto is you just keep working it. You know, unlike other rice, you know, you're not supposed to stir rice. You're just supposed to let it cook down. You know, the whole point is you got to keep stirring a Borio to make a proper risotto. You can see, I mean, the sheen alone just from the starch going into the stock, it's kind of pretty. But also super tasty. Work it. Work that risotto. Alright, now real quick, I'm going to just grab a spoon. Excuse me. Grab a spoon. Just tasting the rice, seeing how long we need. We're probably going to have to do another reduction or two, which is fine. Except when you have what I wouldn't do for a gas top grill. Just gas top, cooktop. I miss it. That's the one thing I do miss about working in kitchens, is just having access to all the awesome tools and cooking utensils. Alright, we're just going to let that cook down. While we're letting that cook down and reduce down, I'm going to rinse and wash our cutting board real quick. We're just going to give this a quick wipe down real quick. Remember, especially when you're washing things with, you know, raw meat or poultry or anything like that on it, hottest water you can possibly stand. Really make sure you wash it good a couple times. Hot soapy water. And just make sure you're eliminating the possibility of cross-contamination. And that's something you're going to hear me say a lot, is cross-contamination, because that's like every restaurant's nightmare. You know, the last thing you want to do is make someone sick with your cooking. You know, especially yourself. Alright, so we're going to give this another taste again. And we're getting super close, so I'm going to add our peas. And then I'm actually going to add a little bit of the water from our apples. Get a little extra flavor in there. And I'm just going to throw a handful of these in. Just kind of choke them down, break them in half. continue letting these cook down. I maybe got a little ambitious with the size of this pan. It's a little small. So I think what we'll do here is we'll just take, there's only a little bit of stock left in here. So what we'll do is we'll just transfer this over. There we go. All right, we're just going to let that finish cooking down. While we're letting that finish, I'm going to go ahead and just give this a quick wipe. Be careful, those elements are hot. You don't want to burn yourself. And while we're waiting on that to finish up, I'm gonna pop down here real quick and give our pork a quick temp. Still got a minute 4 or 5 on the fork. I'm just gonna, real quick, I'm gonna pull this out. I'm gonna give it a flip. Now, traditionally, we would finish this with some Parmesan cheese, but we're not gonna do any dairy. So we're just gonna finish this with some vegan butter. And surprisingly, that vegan butter that I've been using has been working out really amazing as a butter substitute. It's been pretty much acting just like normal butter. So we're gonna finish with some of that and call her a day. And like I said, you know, I kind of cheated tonight. I used some frozen peas from the store, but peas aren't really in season right now. That's more of a midsummer thing. And you know, you can buy them and use them frozen. It's not the end of the world. They taste just fine. You know, you're just cooking at home, or even if you're cooking to impress, I can pretty much guarantee no one will know the difference. Oh, it's tasting really good. Not quite there yet, but tasting really, really good. And now the reason you use stock and not just water or something like that is because it adds way more flavor. Like if you were to just cook this down in water, you wouldn't really have a lot of flavor. And that's really what we want. Like everybody just wants a little bit of flavor. And you can use chicken stock, you can use veggie stock, you can probably even use beef or veal stock for a real hearty flavor risotto. Just more traditionally, we use veggie stock or chicken stock. And you see, we're starting to get just that nice ooey gooey texture on the rice. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Letting this finish. We're so very close. I'm just going to hit that with a tiny bit more stock. Not too much. Just a little bit. Kind of incorporate that in. Let it cook down. We're getting super close now. So how's everybody's weekend going? Everybody having fun? Got to do anything fun? Any big plans for the week? I'm gonna eat a piece of apple. And the apples I used are Gala apples. They still have a little bit of tartness to them, but they're more sweet. You can use Granny Smith's for a real tart flavor. You can use, Golden Delicious for a more mellow flavor. Whatever, really, just whatever floats your boat. Whatever apples you prefer, I'd say use those. All right, I'm going to turn down the heat on the risotto. And like I said, the key with risotto is you keep working it, you keep stirring it. You want to release all that starch out. Oh man, it's almost perfect. Almost. It's still a little al dente. So we're just gonna kind of let it steam finish while we're waiting on our roast to be done. I'm actually gonna step off screen for a second. And we're back. Now when this roast is closer to being done, we'll finish it. We'll finish the risotto with some of the butter. We're actually just gonna pop this open real quick. Cut a little nubbin off and just have it ready. I don't know if you can tell, but I mean, just look at the texture of that. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, a fun thing to do with leftover risotto, if you have any leftovers, you can roll them up into little balls with a little cornstarch, a little flour, deep fry those, and then you have arancini, which is basically just deep fried rice balls. And they are delicious. What's really fun is if you stick a little cheese curd in the center of it and then deep fry it. Oh, so good. Nom 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 nom. Pretty much, yeah. It's personally, I like arancini better than mozzarella sticks. A little heartier. Alrighty, we'll give a little temp test on our pork. And we're doing good, we're doing good. It needs to come up about another 15, 20 degrees. So, if there's anything in particular that you want to see happen, like if you want to see how to like stuff a chicken, stuff a pork, stuff a beef, whatever you want to do, like, you want to see how to properly make, whatever, or maybe even not even properly make, but like how to make it at home, like how can I make this dish as easy as possible at home. Follow my Discord link down below and just post in there. There's 3 different channels set up. There's the general channel, there's the weekly menu channel, and there's a food porn channel where you can also post your own food pictures. If you just want to pop in there and say, hey, like, can we do this one week, or can we do this one week? Like, just drop a line and we'll see what we can do to make that happen. I think one of these weeks we're going to have to redo the airliner chicken breast, because that was the first ever stream that we did, and unfortunately it is lost. It is lost in time and space. Because it was my first stream and I forgot to hit buttons. We're just gonna hit this with a little kosher salt. Like I said, always kosher salt, always fresh ground black pepper. Just the nice grains from the kosher salt. And then there is a difference between fresh ground black pepper and just your normal table ground that you get It's just a way better flavor. There we go. All right. Since our pork is getting super close, we're just gonna stick our knob of butter in there, and we're just gonna stir. We're just gonna incorporate this nicely into our risotto. And traditionally, you'd hit it with butter, top it with some cheese, and call it a day. Parmesan is definitely a go-to. Me personally, I like a little, there's a creamery called Cypress Grove, and they make two different types of, they make a goat's milk and a sheep's milk hard cheese that's very much like Parmesan, but it has a different flavor. One of them is called Midnight Moon, and that's a really good, extra flavorful, it's like almost a cross between a Parmesan and a cheddar. And then the lamb chopper is the lamb cheese, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And it looks like I broke my burner. Oh well, I'll fix that later when it's not smoking hot. Alrighty, and just look at that sheen. That is exactly what we're looking for. Just nice, sticky, amazing mound of rice. And so like I said, you know, we did a quick pan sear on the pork loin, put it in the oven at 350, gave it a flip about 15 minutes in. It's going to take about 30-35 minutes to finish up in the oven, especially if you're just using a standard oven. And I fixed it. Haha. Like I said, save your food containers, because these work really well as, you know, just holding trays. You know, throw a lid on them, throw them in the fridge. They stack really nice. It just makes everything, it makes life easy. Thanks for name card. Now, hands up or exclamation points up, or however you want to do it. How many people have gone out to dinner and ordered risotto? Slash, how many people actually like risotto? I went to a resort. Delish. Well, now you know how to make it at home, Lindsay. And actually, you know, surprisingly, I mean, arborio is a little bit more expensive than normal white grain, but I mean, this is I got 2 pounds of arborio for, I think it was like $5 from the store. So it's not too expensive. And it's just a nice, if you want to, you know, spice things up at home and feel fancy, you know, risotto is one of those things you can really make it really easy. I'm going to hit this with a little bit more butter, just for fun. And like I said, right about now is the time you would hit it with some Parmesan as well, just to get it really, really gooey, really cheesy, just lots of awesome flavor. Shredded Parmesan, not grated Parmesan. You don't want none of that dry, stinky cheese in your risotto. I mean, I suppose you could use that. If you don't have any shredded parm, you could totally just probably just hit it with that and get that flavor. All right, we do a temp check on our pork one more time. We're gonna give it one more flip. And we're gonna give that about another 10 minutes or so in the oven. Like I said, ideal temp for kind of a more mid-well pork, 145, 150-ish. Still want it to be nice and juicy. Yes, I do use a meat thermometer. And even when I was working in restaurants, I would still use a thermometer. Even when I was working grill, I would still temp each steak, even if I knew it was ready. I would still put a thermometer in it because it's one of those things where, someone's paying, if you go out and order a steak off a menu, you're paying at least $30. So if somebody's spending that much money on a meal, I personally at least want to make sure it's exactly the right temperature of what they wanted. It just eliminates, like I said, especially with like poultry, stuff like that, you know exactly what temperature it is. People are getting the right temp. They're getting what they ordered, and you're not going to hurt anybody. So that is a big key factor. And as far as meat thermometer goes, I'm pretty partial to these javelins. They're super quick read. You pop it out. The temperature's right there. You can rinse it off. Wash it off. Make sure it's sanitized. Pop it back down. These actually have a magnet in them, so they just like even my cast iron. It magnetizes right to the top of my cast iron, which is usually I never really use this one. I used it when we did fried chicken, but this lid pretty much never gets used. So I usually just keep it magnetized right there on top. And I actually caught a lot of flack from people for using a meat thermometer. You've been doing this long enough. You should know what temp it is. You should know what temp it is. And it's like, everybody fucks up. Like, everybody makes mistakes. The last thing I want to do is mess up somebody's steak, then have them send it back, and then have it take another 15, 20 minutes to cook while everyone else is eating. Especially in a high-end place, like you're you catch a lot of flack in the kitchen, and B, it makes life super hard for front of house, like wait staff. Like the last thing I want to do is to not only inconvenience the customer, but have my front of house staff have to deal with an angry customer. Because then nobody's happy. Sorry, these apples are delicious. What's everybody's favorite apple? I gotta say, over the past year, I've really been digging Gala apples. They've really been doing it for me. Pear apple, that's not a bad call. That is not a bad call. I really like Bartlett pears. Like if a Gala apple and a Bartlett pear could somehow have a child, I would be very happy to eat that child. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, Lindsay. Through crossbreeding and horticulture, there's now actually, funny enough, outside of my grandpa's house, or my grandpa's old house, my dad's new house, we had a we had a apple tree, and I was like, wow, that's a weird apple tree. Like, I'm gonna go pick that apple, and I rinsed it off, and I took a bite, and it was the texture and flavor of a pear inside. And I remember I was probably like 13, 14, and I was like, what is this? Like, what is this demon magic? It was just an apple pear, and it was delicious. And now we're at that super fun time where we're just hurrying up and we're waiting for things to get done. Just sitting here munching on apples because they're delicious. Well, really, Lindsay, you haven't heard of it because you haven't crossed out of the Matrix yet. I mean, we're all still kind of in the Matrix, but like, Keanu Reeves needs to visit you and say, hey, it's all a lie, and then you'll find out exactly what it is. Also, how many Stranger Things fans do we have in chat? Because I ain't even gonna lie, I was a total garbage person yesterday and binge watched it the entire season 2. All right, we're gonna pull our pork out of the oven. Oh yeah, just look at that. Just nice, beautiful roasted pork. We're just gonna let that rest up for a minute. I'm actually gonna pull this over here. I'm gonna let that rest. And just for fun, I'm gonna see if we can get a kind of a fun sauce out of this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna deglaze this pan with some white wine. Binge that shit so hard. I was like, I was whispering to my boss at work, and I'm like, hey, 2 more days. Hey, 18 hours. It was so hard because, like, I was awake Thursday night, and I wound up actually not having to work on Friday. And it was so hard on Friday to just wait and, like, not completely start watching everything until Cakes got home. And so what we're doing here, like I said, this is just kind of an experiment, kind of fun. I added some white wine to this pan to kind of deglaze it, get some of those pork bits off there. I'm going to kind of reduce that down with some of this here chicken broth. And I'm going to see if we can just make a little pan jus for our pork. And I'm scraping up the crispy bits on the bottom. We want those. And we're gonna see how this works. I want to see if this will turn into something tasty. We're just going to kick the heat up on that pan. Oh, just look at that. Just so beautiful. I'm not going to lie, I absolutely love pork. Pork in all forms. Now there's a trick to cooking with wine. So you want to make sure that you cook all the wine out. Smell wise, when you inhale, you can kind of smell the alcohol evaporating, and then once that kind of smell is gone, then you know you've kind of cooked everything down. And you can also taste test it. Like, you can tell the difference between like alcoholic, still alcohol induced wine, or alcohol infused cooking, and non-alcohol infused cooking. There's a big difference in the way it hits the back of your throat when you're smelling everything. And we're just going to let this keep reducing. I added some dried herbs, some salt to it. Flavor-wise, it's super tasty. So, like I said, let's see if we can get a nice kind of just pan jus out of that for on top of our pork. And I mean, this is honestly the easiest way to make sauce for any of your proteins. Like, if you're searing steaks, you're searing chicken, you're searing pork, you can do this, deglaze your pan with some wine and some stock, let it reduce down, add a little seasoning, add some herbs, let it keep reducing down, and then just hit it with some cold butter, and the cold butter will just thicken it up and just make a nice sauce. You see, I'm just kind of swirling everything around, making sure everything kind of stays as integrated as possible. Because that's the thing, the fat from the pork, the wine, and the stock, they're not really going to be integrated. They're reducing down together, which is nice, but they don't necessarily stay integrated. And when you add the cold butter, it integrates everything into one another, and the cold butter thickens the hot the hot reduction. I feel like that's a band name or a really bad song title. The Hot Reduction. Alright, we're just gonna let that reduce down for like 1 more minute. That's what she said! Boom! Stupid caps lock. Why are you yelling at me, JL? Quit yelling at me. You're not my dad. Alright, now we're gonna add our cold butter. And we're literally, or butter substitute in this case. And we're just gonna swirl it around. Kill the heat on that burner. And we're just gonna move this around. Alright, that's all integrated. We're gonna pull this pork loin over here. Grab, what did I do with that damn knife? Aha! Sharp. And cut the end off this. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Make some thinner slices. Kind of shingle them nicely on the plate. We're going to grab our spoon. Spoon ourselves some risotto. Yeah. Top that off with some fresh apples. Grab a fresh spoon. We're going to take up some of our pan jus. Just spread that nicely over the pork. Just give the plate a quick wipe. And then voila. Here, let me move the wine bottle. And then voila. And dry rub pork with a little pan jus and an apple pea risotto. How does that look? I'm going to go feed Cakes Riley. And like I said, you know, risotto is actually, it's pretty damn easy. It's just kind of tedious. So if you have any questions, like if you really want to make risotto at home and you have any questions, just go ahead and ask, and you know, I'll answer. So just look at how delicious, juicy, still awesome that pork is. Grab this pan. Get the rest of this pan jus. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I need to review this pork. When I've made pork loin in the past, it's hard to keep it juicy. It is, and that's why rename card, next time you make pork tenderloin or you know pork loin, pork whatever, my recommendation is pull it out at about 135, 140 degrees Fahrenheit and just let it rest. You know, we had it set aside for a minute, just let all the juices kind of soak back up into it. So the key is you don't want to overcook it. And with pork, like I said, your ideal temp is about 145, 150. Like 150, I would say maximum. Because that's what's really, that's how you're going to get the... JL Draco has been captured by ninjas. Send pork. But if you... That's really the key, is to not overcook it. And that target temp, that perfect temp is, like I said, between 145 and 150. I'm going to quit fucking around and I'm going to take a bite of this. That doesn't suck. The risotto is not bad either. Just, I mean, just look at the glean on that. That's exactly what you're looking for. And that pan jus turned out a whole lot better than I thought it would. Like I said, easiest way to make a quick sauce, just take the pan that you were cooking in, deglaze it with some white wine and some stock, whether it be veggie, chicken, reduce it down, cold butter, you got a sauce. Nom 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 nom. Nom nom nom. Nom nom nom. And baby, you got yourself a sauce. That is true. That is 100% true. Now, putting the apple in the risotto was just kind of a last minute thought. But I'm really digging it. It adds kind of a sweetness to it that it wouldn't normally have. I'm actually really enjoying it. But anywho's everybody, any questions, comments, concerns, voice them now or forever hold your peace until next Sunday when you can bring it up again. I'm gonna eat another piece of this pork because it's delicious. Forever until Sunday. Exactly. All right, everybody. So like I said, just real quick, simple dinner. Had I started with this pan, literally two pans and a cutting board. As far as dishes go, real quick, easy, low mess pickup or dinner, I guess I should say. This pork is tasty. Until next Sunday, have a great week, everybody. Like I said, if there's anything you want to see, pop on over to Discord, post in Discord, let me know. We'll make it happen. But until next Sunday, I will see everybody then.